Good day and welcome to a video from AMD Telecom. This video has been created as a solution towards the GDPR rule that EU has come with. Now, there's a lot of questions considering GDPR, and we're going to study briefly some of them. I'm going to come with some responses, and then we're going to see the solution the company presents. Here is a list with questions deriving from GDPR. Now, to those asking what is the GDPR? Well, the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, known as GDPR, is the culmination of 4 years of efforts to update data protection for the 21st century, in which people regularly grant permissions to use their personal information for a variety of reasons in exchange for free services. GDPR will replace the Data Protection Act that funded in 1998, which was brought into law as a way to implement the 1995 EU Data Protection Directive. GDPR seeks to give people more control over how organizations use their data and introduced hefty penalties for organizations that fail to comply with the rules. And for those that suffer data breaches, it will also ensure data protection law is almost identical across the EU. Why was the GDPR drafted? There are two main factors behind the introduction of GDPR. The biggest one is the EU's desire to bring data protection law in line with how people's data are being used. And the second one is the EU's desire to give organizations more clarity over the legal environment that dictates how they behave. By making data protection law identical throughout member states, the EU believes that they will collectively save companies 2.3 billion annually. When will the GDPR apply? The GDPR will apply in all EU member states from the 25th of May 2018. Because GDPR is a regulation, not a directive, it will apply automatically. While it came into force on the 24th of May 2016, after all parts of the EU agreed to the final text, businesses and organizations have until 25th of May 2018 until the law actually applies to them. Who does the GDPR apply to? Controllers and processors of the data need to abide by the GDPR. A data controller states how and why personal data is processed, while a processor is the party doing the actual processing of the data. So the controller could be any organization from a profit-seeking company to a charity or government. A processor could be an IT firm doing the actual data processing. Even if controllers and processors are based outside the EU, the GDPR will still apply to them so long as they are dealing with data belonging to EU residents. It's the controller's responsibility to ensure the processor abides by data protection law, and processors must themselves abide by rules to maintain records of the processing activities. If processors are involved in a data breach, they are far from liable under GDPR than they were under the Data Protection Act. When can somebody process data under the GDPR? Firstly, when the legislation comes into effect, controllers must ensure personal data is processed lawfully, transparently, and for a specific purpose. And once that purpose is fulfilled and the data is no longer required, it should be deleted. What do you mean by lawful? So, lawfully has a range of alternative meanings, not all of which need to apply. Firstly, it could be lawful if the subject has consented to the data being processed. Alternatively, lawful can mean to comply with a contract or legal obligation, to protect an interest that is essential for the life of the subject, if processing the subject is in the public interest, or if doing so is in the controller's legitimate interests, such as preventing fraud. And how do I get consent under the GDPR? Well, here's where AMD comes into point. The company has come with a solution that is going to help the consent to be effective, affirmative action by the data subject. and rather than the passive acceptance under some current models that they allow the pre-ticked boxes or opt-outs. Here are the two solutions that AMD Telecom provides for you. If your site is powered by WordPress, you can simply download and install our WordPress content gathering plugin. After installation is completed, you use your Routee credentials for authentication in order to connect your site with your Routee account. Then you simply create a form using our plugin. AMD Telecom provides customers with SMS, voice, mail, Viber messaging services. For each service you use, you will need to create two checkbox fields. For example, if you use SMS one box, it stands for informative SMS opt-in and one for the educational ones. After the customer presses the submit button, all the information given will be saved on your Routee's account contacts. Well, if your site is not powered by WordPress, we can create a custom landing page for you, which will include a similar form. All these procedures will be conducted by us as a project. The pricing of this project will depend on your email and phone number qualities. And what will the benefits be for you? Well, first of all, you're going to be GDPR compliant, and then you're going to maximize your opt-in, which leads to maximum validation later on. The solution we recommend is that you use your current phone and email database to run a workflow that will maximize your customer opt-ins. There are 5 steps with 2-day intervals between them that you have to follow in order to achieve maximum opt-ins. Firstly, you will send an email to all your customers via our email platform, linking them to your form. Then, 2 days later, you will send a similar email to the customers who haven't opted in yet. Additional to that, you'll send a Viber message with SMS fallbacks to all the remaining customers with the link of the form. And 2 days later, you'll send a Viber message with SMS fallbacks. Finally, you will send a recording message with a DTMF tone to receive the remaining opt-ins.